Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. Good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late. There are some videos I really needed to get together to share with you guys, but let's start out with our morning affirmation and honoring God with our body. So God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect my reproductive organs. God, please help me to honor you with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, please let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And yes, that is a mantra that we will be saying daily on the show until there are some times when I'm in church and there may be a certain sermon that a pastor does that I want to share with you guys, and I will bring that up and to your attention. So again, thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News on this Tell It All Tuesday, and we will get into our trending topics on X. So I'm like, oh, let me bring that up. I totally minimized everything. I'm like, wait a minute, where's my stuff? Let me bring that back up. Really quickly. There's a few things that happened, so I definitely wanted to bring to your attention on this Tell It All Tuesday. Unfortunately, there was a woman who was fatally stabbed and it was a random stabbing in the MARTA train in Atlanta, and it's gotten so scary in Atlanta. It's really weird because I lived there years ago, and taking the MARTA it was a nice experience, right? Except for sometimes the train would break down. Okay, got it. It would just happen. Mechanics are what they are, but otherwise it was always really nice. And now it has just become dangerous. And here's the sad part. I know Democrats are always whining and crying, we need to stay in power, but your cities are struggling Why would this happen? Okay. Why aren't your cities safe? Atlanta has complete Democrat control and it is becoming horrible. Not better, horrible. Fix it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying fix it. You don't have to change parties to fix it. Just fix it. That's all. And then Americans are struggling with the soaring cost of living, from rent to meals. And then Vanilla Ice, he's saying he's staying committed to the Trump-backed 250th anniversary concert. So here's the first one. Let's get that up. So on Saturday around noon at Oakland City Station, a 25-year-old John Elijah Matthews allegedly stabbed Swan 18 to 20 times in an unprovoked assault captured on surveillance video. With no prior interaction between them, witnesses pointed out the calm suspect to patrolling officers who arrested him peacefully nearby. Swan's daughter, Shanae Sams, called her the family's rock. A retired daycare worker, mother of three, a great grandmother, while lamenting bystander interaction and calling for more police patrols amid rider fears on Atlanta transit system. I've never heard or seen anything like this. And I lived in Atlanta between 2004, 2006, moved back to California, and then no, I lived here. Did I live here? I lived here 2006, 2010. Sorry, moved back to California, then came back in 2017. Um, so it was beautiful being in Atlanta. You didn't feel unsafe, right? I mean, crime is everywhere. I get it. It's a you know big city in a small town, pretty much. But you never felt unsafe. And so this person is just laying there to be caught after randomly stabbing somebody. This doesn't make sense. And these are the things that people will say demons are real and possession is real, and it is. It truly, truly is. And we are definitely praying for the family who lost Margaret Swan. So our prayers are definitely with them. And on to our next article. So Americans struggle with soaring living costs from rent to meals. Workers earning solid wages like 83,000 a year find nothing left after 1,500 to 1,800 rents, eat 30 to 50% of their take take home pay, right? Over one third of senior households, 12.5 million, spend more than 30% of their income on housing, with 45% struggling on basics and nearly 14 million facing food insecurity. Social Security averages 2,071 a month. Monthly in 2026, yet 73% of seniors rely on it for over half their income amid rising costs. So pushing labor participation for those 65 and older to decades high 19.5%. Stories highlight a broad crisis fueled by inflation and housing shortages. And the thing is, they can build more housing, right, to lower the cost. So there's more competition. But at the same time, we had a large influx of people who don't belong here. We have a large influx of people on H-1B visas, on J-1 visas. It all needs to stop. Like I've said before, the whole immigration thing, we need to be closed. We need to like put the little shutters down on the window and say, we're closed. And the reason we're closed and all applications will be halted indefinitely until further notice, right? Indefinitely, like shut it down because there are people here that don't belong here that have deportation orders that need to be removed, period. And we can't have an influx and an outflux. We need an outflux. And nobody gets to come in. If you have an application and you've been waiting, sorry, you're waiting. You're going to continue to wait indefinitely until we get this crisis averted. Because what we cannot do is amnesty again. And now it's affecting people to the point where they can't really live. And a lot of people want to blame tariffs and they want to blame this or that. Look, supply and demand. It's real easy. If you have too many people and you don't have enough supply and there's a demand there, it's going to raise the prices. That's easy. When you have fewer people and you have less demand and the people are like, we need to move our products, their products will be a lot cheaper. Okay. And that's where we need to get to. Fewer people on the soil that don't belong here. And especially people that are living off of welfare that don't belong here. Okay. You didn't pay into the system. You should not be benefiting from the system. That's really easy. That's really easy because it should be for people who really, really need it. Okay. Not for people who are defrauding the system. And then our last one here, Vanilla Ice, he's staying committed to the Trump back 250th anniversary concert. Vanilla Ice told CNN he's proud to perform at the Great American State Fair on Washington National Mall from June 25th to July 10th, part of Freedom 250 celebrations for the Declaration of Independence semi quincentennial. Quincentennial. Several artists like Martha McBride, Bret Michaels, Young M.C., the Commodores, and Morris Day and The Time withdrew last week, citing concerns the event turned political despite nonpartisan promises. The festival, organized by a Trump administration-linked group, faces questions over $68 million in federal grants amid overlaps with the bipartisan 250 commission, while President Trump mocked the dropouts and suggested a patriot rally instead. Let's not do a patriot rally. If this is really going to be about celebrating America, the 250th, it shouldn't be associated with anybody political, right? And it definitely should be open to all political parties that are participating. I'm the founder of the Redemption Party. Maybe if I know some people that are members of the Redemption Party, which I do, that are in the Maryland area, it'll be like, hey, please show up. Wear your Redemption Party hats and t-shirts and let people know about the Redemption Party while we're celebrating 250 years. That's it. This just needs to be a nonpartisan celebration. Period. The end. And people trying to make this about our current president is wrong. Now, if our current president is like, hey guys, we need to rally around, we need to celebrate. If he's saying that, okay, stop crashing out. Because we should be celebrating. Period. But you want to crash out because you have nothing better to do. Usually, most empires, they're destroyed by this time. Usually destroyed by 200 years. And usually in 200 years, it starts to devolve into complete chaos. And we are in chaos. But a lot of this chaos is it's demonic. And people have allowed demonic behavior and coddled it. And when you do that with sin and it gives full birth, it becomes something you don't want to tangle with. It really, really does. Now, there was an article on All Sides that I wanted to get into, and it says the federal court rules Trump ban on trans service members is unconstitutional. Now, that's really strange, in my opinion, because first of all, the contract, and we'll get into this further, the contract that those members sign, they're signing and attesting that they are who they say they are according to their birth records. So if a man is born a man, he cannot be calling himself a woman and try to get into the army. Period. So a federal judge on Monday ruled that President Trump's ban on transgender individuals serving in the U.S. military was unconstitutional. First of all, there's nothing about transgenders in the Constitution, so it can't be unconstitutional. Y'all are weird. And I have to really see where they're talking about this being unconstitutional. So left and right-leaning outlets differed in which perspectives they amplified, with left-leaning outlets more often contextualizing the ban within a broader targeting of transgender groups. So here's the details. In a 2-1 decision, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the policy was likely unconstitutional. That doesn't mean it is, because there's no supremacy clause anywhere on this. What are you talking about? See, that's what. Anyway, let me stick to the script. Okay, so though the ruling only applied to the 28 plaintiffs who sued the Trump administration, the Pentagon can still prevent transgender individuals from enlisting in the military. In a written opinion, Judge Robert L. Wilkins wrote the government had shown little evidence that transgender troops harm military operations, and that instead the Trump administration seemed driven by bar the bare desire to harm a politically unpopular group. So what is this really about? It's about politics. Come on. Come on. Biased by viewpoint placement, many outlets on the left primarily shared perspectives of the plaintiffs, their lawyers, and the LGBTQ organizational leaders. The Guardian, ABC News included a quote from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying, "See you at SCOTUS." In response to the ruling, outlets also emphasized harm and uncertainty faced by transgender service members following the ban. New York Times, that leans left, included the roles that the 4,200 openly transgender service members hold in military, including pilots, nuclear engineers, doctors, intelligence analysts, and more. It also quoted one of prosecuting lawyers saying the ruling will have an immediate positive impact on the lives of people who just want to serve their country, but have been through a long, um, dispiriting ordeal. So a split decision. Outlets on the right often led with the decision being split. One of the judge's arguments, many right-leaning outlets primarily noted that the Trump administration hadn't shown sufficient evidence that transgender personnel harm national security, and also quoted the dissenting judge saying the decision of who serves in the military is up to Congress and the president. Interesting. So, Just the News, that leans right, Place that leans right, emphasized that the ban on new transgender enlistees still holds. Just the News wrote the ban was part of the War Department's attempt to remove woke elements from the military. Outlets across the political spectrum mentioned that the two supporting judges were appointed by former presidents Obama and Clinton. Interesting. So Hegseth signed a memo May 2025 that gave active component transgender service members 30 days to voluntarily leave the military or be forced out. Those in the National Guard and Reserve were given 60 days. Okay, so I took it a step further and I wanted to check in with Grok, and I said, has the military contract, because there is a contract that each service member signs, changed, I meant to say changed, or been updated to allow individuals born as one biological sex be allowed to serve in the military under a different sex that does not match their birth certificate? No, the military has not updated to allow that. In fact, it moved in the opposite direction. It's never been allowed. And let's get into it, right? So, under President Trump's Executive Order 14183, prioritizing military excellence and readiness, signed January 27, 2025, so that was last year, and subsequent Department of Defense guidelines issued in February of last year, individuals with a certain or history of gender dysphoria, right, or who exhibit symptoms consistent with it are generally disqualified from service because it is a mental disorder. It is. And people that keep trying to justify this, they're wrong. Stop it. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. A man who thinks he's a woman, he has a problem because he's not. A woman who thinks she's a man, that's a problem. You're not. You might be more feminine as a man. That doesn't make you a woman. You might be more masculine as a woman. That doesn't make you a man. That just makes you a more masculine woman or a more feminine man. That's it. It's real simple. Now, the problem with it is some of these medications that these individuals are on makes them more violent and more prone to suicide. Let's just talk about that part. But nobody wants to mention that. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody just wants to get in their feelings and be like, oh my gosh, you're being so mean. No, I'm not being mean. I'm being realistic. Some people just need to be told no. Okay? No, you cannot do that. All right, now I wanted to skip down here. It says this reversed the Biden era policy. Policy are not laws because they can be reversed because they're policies. Okay? 2021, early 2025, which had allowed transgender individuals to serve openly in their identified gender with some medical and administrative requirements. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody remembers Tuberville fighting against. He was like, yeah, I don't care what you want to do, but you're not going to have us pay for it. Does anybody remember how I think there was like somebody that they were trying to get passed by the Senate, and Tuberville kept holding out. And I want to say it was like the Navy or, certain parts of the military, they didn't have anybody to that was an authority over them because they refused, because Tuberville was like, no, you need to fix this. You need to change what you're talking about. These individuals that want to be allowed transitional surgeries, the government's not paying for that. And the government's not going to pay if you want to, end a pregnancy early. The government's not going to pay for that, even if you're in the military. Yeah, it was a really sticky point. You guys might want to look it up. It was crazy, but it happened. Okay. So now new ascensions. Transgender individuals are largely barred. Narrow waivers may exist in very limited cases for those who have not transitioned, have been stable in their biological sex for at least 36 months, and are in critical roles and agree to adhere fully to biological sex standards. Current service members, many face separation discharge processes. Voluntary separation windows were offered, followed by involuntary separations. Some court challenges have provided temporary protections for certain service members, but the overall policy and ban on new transgender service remain in effect. And guess what? I'm okay with it. I don't want people serving this country who are confused about who they are. I don't want to see people being taken advantage of. I just don't. Stop. You can do many things, but serving this country and you're confused about who you are, you can't. You're not fit. You are not fit for service. And I've worked in a military medical squadron, and I saw, the different, physical exams that they would have to give and making sure that they were mentally fit and ready for all of these things. No, you can't. You can't. It's not proper. It isn't right. And no. So if nobody else was going to tell you no in your life, I'm saying no. I am in a support of a ban like this because you have to be on medications, again, that lower your inhibitions and make you more of a risk to the individuals around you. So that is a national security risk. No, you are not fit for service. And you need to find something else to do. Now, there are government contracts you can get to help the government, but you're not going to be working for the government in that capacity. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not to protect our country, because you're too volatile. And you, again, not mentally fit. It's not the way anybody wants to see this going. Now, with that, we're going to get into Kathy Hochul and her writing of anti-ICE laws, which I'm like, what is she doing now?
Today that she says will protect New Yorkers against aggressive immigration enforcement, including a mask ban.
News 4's Erica Byfield was there for the signing and has a closer look at the new laws.
The governor thinks that what she did is going to get some pushback, but she says she's doing it because she thinks it's right, and she's also hoping that other states will follow New York's lead. The immigration debate rages on. This group showed up at the governor's office out of frustration, thinking that Kathy Hochul isn't going far enough to protect immigrants. Just hours earlier, we were with her.
This is an important day for our state.
On Friday, she held an intimate roundtable discussion with religious leaders, community advocates, and everyday New Yorkers ahead of signing sweeping legislation, taking on the Trump administration's immigration policies.
And I'm really proud of this day. It was a long negotiation with the legislature, a lot of opinions on this. But I knew at the end of the day that we had to show communities that we are here to protect them.
Among the new laws, law enforcement cannot wear a mask on the job. Additionally, federal immigration authorities can no longer deputize local cops, use them to help them detain people. Another new state law, federal agents can't go into sensitive places like schools and places of worship for immigration enforcement. One more change, a provision makes it easier for New Yorkers to sue government officials or agencies. Among those there, a little boy named Norman, who met the governor before, back then explaining that he told her that he made the honor roll, but he could not tell his dad because his dad was in ICE custody. His father, now released, spoke.
It was terrible over there, but thank God I'm here. I'm back. Thank you, and thank you everything.
I started crying when Norman told me your story. So
Oh, thank you.
it was so emotional.
The governor stressed that New York is not a sanctuary for dangerous criminals. She sees the state as a place for anyone trying to better themselves, saying that she's ready if the feds challenge any of these laws, including that mask ban.
This will be the law of the state of New York, and they're required to follow it. If there's litigation, we'll be ready to fight that, to stop it.
There are reports that DHS is going to challenge this mask ban. We've reached out. We've yet to hear anything back. Let's zero in just a little bit more on the details of this. It applies to state, federal, and local law enforcement, and it goes into effect 30 days from today. Erica Bikel, News 4, New York.
Well, see, again, for me, I'm not going to get my hands dirty if I'm the head of DHS. I'm just going to give this the governor and, other areas where I know that there are dangerous individuals that we're trying to get and they're hiding in the state, right? I'm going to say, okay, you've got 30 days to get these individuals who have deportation orders, by the way, and turn them over to us. And if you refuse, you will be going to federal prison under Title 8, Section 1324, harboring illegal aliens. And then to that, with you saying what federal agents can and cannot do with this mask ban, we're going to sue you and also send you to jail for interfering with federal agents in the line of duty. That is Section 18. I'm sorry, Title 18, Section 111, where you cannot interfere in their job. They are over you. So they're making these policies and these laws and all this. You're going against your own constitution. You do realize that right now. You've opened it up so people can sue the government. That means they can sue you too, Ms. Hochul, for harms that you have caused them, for allowing people who are not citizens here to mess with their lives. What about that? Where are we with that? See, nobody wants to talk about that. And those are the bigger questions that I have. There are a few other stories I wanted to get into. I'm not going to get into them because my time is almost up. I've been trying to really keep it at 30 minutes. But thank you guys, definitely, for joining me here. So some of the other topics I wanted to get into, apparently AOC, she did a short speech in front of a Muslim men, and she wore covering. Right. It was kind of a hijab. And it's like there were no other women there. And there's a reason for that, because that's not how they get down in the Muslim community. They don't really like women. I think they hate women. They just use them like chairs. And that's just my opinion. And then the next article was about Kemp and a current, let's see, congressional candidate, and that candidate's brother has a large contract in the state of Georgia with security, right? Because he was an old friend of Kemp's, and so he's gotten over $20 million in contracts and everything like this. And now everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening." This happens all the time. Stop being so shocked. Whatever. And then the last story was about Dayton, Ohio, and now they have Flock, Flock. I don't know if anybody else has seen these cameras, but they put them in all around the country. They didn't really tell anybody, and then it was like the surveillance was going on. They already use satellite surveillance beyond Flock that can see through walls. What do you think this 5 and 6G is about? And you're talking about these Flock cameras. You need to take them down. Okay, they can take them down. They can still see what you're doing because you still have your phone, so they can still hear you. So, you know, there are just things that we need to be outraged about, and then some things I'm just like, really, this is what's doing it for you. But okay, but I'll leave those links so you guys can watch those videos. But thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News for this Tell It All Tuesday, and we'll be back tomorrow with Women in Wellness Wednesday. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.